Hello, everyone. I'm Ana Maria Ramos, your state representative. And today we have a group of individuals who have a very important cause. So this message today is for anyone who loves women, who has a woman in their life, and who cares about women, even men who this issue affects men as well. So as an educator, it's very important for me to learn about different issues and learn what's important to the community and how we can best serve others. So I have asked this group of individuals to speak to us about what it is that they are doing and what it is that their cause advances. And so the individuals that are here with us today are part of a group called the Texas Menstrual Equity Coalition. And ladies, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Could you tell us a little bit more about what the coalition, the Texas Menstrual Equity Coalition, is about, and what is the group's goal?
Hi, Representative Ramos. Thank you so much for having us on this call. We really appreciate you giving us this space. So my name is Sahar, and I'll just talk about that really quick. So the Texas Menstrual Equity Coalition is basically just a group of activists from across Texas who work in the menstrual equity space and have come together to learn about each other's work, to support each other, and to share resources with each other. So we got together originally in order to learn about the different types of work that is happening in the menstrual equity space. Some people are specifically working on the policy side and trying to end the tampon tax in Texas because they think it's really unjust, which it is. Some people are working on product distribution and focusing on drives for homeless individuals or individuals who can't afford menstrual products. Some people are working on spreading public awareness with their own clubs and amongst their own social circles, which is a very, very important form of activism as well. So this coalition is really just a space for people who are working in all these different avenues to come together to support each other and to learn from each other. And we just wanted to create that cross state space because we didn't think that really existed in an open and responsible way. So that's why this coalition exists.
You mentioned something about the tampon tax, and you all have discussed in previous conversations poverty period. Could you explain what the tampon tax is and where can people find more information about the tampon tax and what period poverty is?
Yes. So, hi, I'm Alice, and the tampon tax refers to when menstrual products in the state of Texas are not exempt from the sales tax, despite the fact that they're a basic necessity. So, this is a really prevalent issue in Texas because many menstruators cannot afford the necessary products that they need. And if you're interested in educating yourself more about this issue, there are multiple different sources and places that you can access information. So first of all is periodequity.org has a lot of information regarding access to menstrual products in general and also the tampon tax. And then some other local organizations in Texas are Flow Code, which is primarily based out of Austin, Texas. So you can visit them at flowcode.org. And additionally, Femme and Flora, they do a lot of work surrounding women's health and specifically menstrual equity. And so they are a great source to educate yourself on more. And then also our own Instagram and Twitter is the Texas Menstrual Equity Coalition. So on Instagram, it's TXME Coalition. And we have a lot of resources and educational different ways that you can get educated. And we constantly update it so you can learn more about menstrual equity, learn about more ways to get involved, and in the future join our coalition. So that is the best way. But there are also a lot of different organizations all throughout Texas that offer great educational resources. And a little bit more, if it's okay, a little bit more about the tampon tax. So specifically in Texas, it is an 8.25% tax, which is a sales tax, and it is prevalent across the U.S., but many state legislators have already eliminated it, such as well, there are about 30 states that have already eliminated this tax, and Texas, sadly, is not one of them. So this session, as access to menstrual products is increasingly necessary. With COVID-19, we are really focusing on eliminating this tampon tax so that people can have these products that are a basic necessity that everyone needs and deserves.
Thank you so much, Alice. It's amazing, and it is a product. You said the word necessity. It is something that, I mean, what's the alternative, right? But there have been women, due to forced situations and circumstances, that had to seek alternatives. And the next question is, but what led you to your activism? Ashley, you said you started off with a little story in terms of why this is important to you. Could you share, or do you mind sharing a little bit about why this, what led your focus on the activism with the tampon tax, and then anybody else who would like to share what led them to support this cause?
So I mentioned earlier, I've been a menstrual equity activist since 2017, and I kind of it's something I gravitated towards. I've always been a feminist, and in 2018, my grandma passed away, and I found out at her funeral that she actually had to drop out of school because she couldn't afford the necessities like menstrual products. She didn't want to feel the shame of bleeding through her clothes or being bullied at school. So the best thing for her was to just drop out. And she was also an orphan, so there were a lot of different things at play. So especially in that time period, it's really hard. So that's why I dedicate my life to this cause, because it's something very important to me. I would hate for that to happen to anyone else, especially in 2020.
Thank you for sharing your story, Ashley. I know I mentioned to you all in the last conversation that we've had that I heard a story on NPR that said the same happened or is happening with a lot of individuals or young ladies in a reservation. The story referenced young ladies in a reservation in Oklahoma, and how the young ladies felt that pregnancy was preferred over their period because there were no stores in their local community that made tampons or hygiene products accessible and affordable, and they couldn't go to further areas that were maybe, you know, more price conscious, like I guess like at a Walmart or whatever. It was just very difficult to really access these products. And so I appreciate your involvement in the movement, because it is a real thing. I think many times we don't think that tampons is an easy thing, or a menstrual pad, just pick it up off the shelf and it's not a big deal. But number one, if that choice is between milk and eggs or bread or whatever, as women and young ladies even, I've had those conversations with my nieces in terms of what do you do when you find yourself in a bind and you're in a situation. There is a book that I bought for them. It's a girl's book, and it was interesting. The girl's book discussed alternatives for women. But does anybody else have would anybody else like to share why they decided to make this part of their movement and their cause to really advance and increase awareness for this issue?
Well, I think a lot of us have a lot of different personal experiences that sort of opened our eyes to this issue. Like, for example, for me, I was volunteering in a local public hospital, and I saw women in the OB-GYN clinic not even wanting to discuss their periods, not even knowing when they had their last period, even when it was information that pertained to, knowing more about their baby, when it would be due, and they're just completely clueless or ashamed to talk about it. And that's what sort of opened my eyes, but further motivated me, and I know motivated a lot of my peers, is that just frustration, because in the past, Texas has failed to get, there have been 2 bills and they've failed to leave committee, and these had to do with abolishing the tampon. And especially in a state or in a country where minimum wage is very low, it's $7.25. And when without tax, a box of tampons could be $7, it goes back to that decision of having to choose between food and having pads or tampons, that we were all just sort of shocked and sort of disgusted that nothing had been done about this. It's very shocking. And so I think a lot of us were just motivated by that anger and that desire to really see change in our communities, because nobody should have to make these types of, you should feel ashamed. And it's just a really difficult to be in. And I know that's definitely that emotion that really pushed me to want to make a difference more than just signing a petition. I wanted to ensure that legislation passed.
Zoe, that is scary. I mean, just thinking about what you said, the reality is it may take a whole hour. Somebody who works minimum wage and who earns minimum wage salaries, a whole hour of work standing on your feet, or flipping burgers or filling fries or stacking groceries, a whole hour of that for a woman to be able to buy a box of tampons, or for a man to earn the money to buy a box of tampons for his daughter or his mother or his aunt. The tampon tax is absolutely something necessary. What can our constituents do? How can the viewers become involved and really help gain and increase awareness and really better advocate for such an important issue?
So there are a few ways that constituents can help out. One way that's really simple that I can think of on the top of my head is to just simply talk about periods. One of the reasons why period poverty is so prevalent in the United States or in the world as a whole is because periods unfortunately have a stigma, and people are scared to talk about needing products, or scared to ask friends, or scared to ask teachers. So that's one simple way. It's just you really need to start the conversation about periods and just bring awareness to an issue. Another way, just Google who represents me in Texas, and you can type in your address, and you can write to your legislators, email them, super simple. You can also follow us on Instagram, TXME Coalition. We always post resources about that. And you can also join our Slack channel as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so. Yeah, Shreya, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to share a couple more ways that people can get involved, because we want to continue sharing that advocacy starts at the most grassroots level. You don't need to be starting your own clubs or coalitions, or even if you don't have as much experience directly talking to your legislators, or are just getting introduced to the world of activism. Just like Ashley said, it all starts just by having conversations. We have so many policymakers, particularly in the state of Texas, that aren't even willing to talk about women's health. So start those conversations in your own home. For those who face, for example, cultural taboos, like I have towards talking about menstruation or gaining access to products, talk to your parents about them, talk to your friends, and you'll gain the confidence to talk to policymakers and legislators about making change as well. Another really important way is kind of putting your money where your mouth is. If you can, donate boxes of period products to homeless shelters or to organizations that Alice mentioned earlier. If you can, divert to using sustainable period products to reduce your carbon footprint, and also choose to buy from local businesses or small BIPOC or minority-owned businesses that sell menstrual hygiene products. We have all of that information on our Instagram. We're continuing to highlight and uplift these voices. So remember that you as an individual, even if you can't afford to buy more expensive and sustainable items, just start having these conversations. And one more thing that we wanted to share was that our team is currently working on a healthcare campaign. We're trying to get the testimonies and hear stories from healthcare professionals, particularly those working on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic, just to make a video explaining about how the tampon tax goes further than just being a social issue, but is a true healthcare issue that is affecting the lives of menstruators all over the state. So once again, please visit our Instagram, and we welcome all videos and statements of support that y'all have. And once again, thank you so much for having us, Representative.
Thank you so much. Thank you again for the Texas Coalition of Menstrual Equity, and thank you so much. And you'll be hearing more from us and support from the community. Thank you.